A dangerous Mother's Day weather outbreak is exploding across the U.S., and millions could be directly in the path. Violent thunderstorms are rapidly developing with destructive winds, giant hail, isolated tornadoes, and flash flooding threats stretching across multiple states. As this volatile pattern intensifies into the new week, even more storm systems are lining up behind it, setting the stage for repeated rounds of dangerous weather. We're tracking where the worst conditions could strike next, the cities facing the highest tornado risk, the powerful wind zones capable of causing widespread outages, and the growing flood danger as heavy rain targets already vulnerable areas. Plus, temperatures are about to surge toward record-breaking levels across parts of the plains and Midwest, while a highly active severe weather pattern threatens to dominate late May and even early June. If you live anywhere from Texas to the Midwest, Appalachians, Ohio Valley, or Northeast, you'll want to pay close attention because conditions could turn dangerous very quickly. Stay alert, have multiple ways to receive warnings, and get ready for a wild stretch of weather ahead. Today's biggest threat zone is centered over Texas, where explosive storm energy is building fast enough to support powerful supercells capable of producing destructive hail, damaging winds over 75 miles per hour, and isolated tornadoes. Areas from Abilene to Dallas-Fort Worth, Waco, Houston, Corpus Christi, Tyler, and College Station could all see dangerous storms by late afternoon and evening. Some storms may rapidly organize into a massive squall line, capable of widespread wind damage and intense rainfall rates that could trigger localized flash flooding in a short amount of time. Power outages, downed trees, dangerous lightning, and rapidly changing weather conditions are all possible through tonight. And this is only the beginning. A major pattern shift is now unfolding across North America as a strengthening ridge of high pressure pushes eastward, fueling hotter temperatures and increasing atmospheric instability across the plains and Midwest. Multiple storm systems are expected to track through the central and eastern United States over the next 7 to 10 days, bringing repeated chances for severe thunderstorms. While some periods may briefly quiet down, the atmosphere is expected to reload quickly, especially by midweek and next weekend, when another potentially dangerous severe weather setup could emerge. Meanwhile, temperatures are set to soar. Parts of the central and southern plains could surge well into the 90s and even low hundreds later this week, with some cities approaching record highs by mid-May. Omaha, Kansas City, Wichita, Topeka, Amarillo, and surrounding areas may experience unusually intense early-season heat as warmer air expands eastward across the country. At the same time, strong winds across the Midwest and northern plains could create hazardous travel conditions and increase wildfire concerns in drier regions. Looking farther ahead into late May and early June, forecasters are increasingly concerned about an extended period of active severe weather across the plains, Midwest, Ohio Valley, and parts of the Northeast. Damaging winds, very large hail, tornadoes, torrential rainfall, and dangerous lightning could all become more frequent as moisture and instability continue to build. Meanwhile, drought conditions are expected to intensify across parts of the Pacific Northwest, including Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and western Montana, where much drier than normal conditions may continue into early summer. This weather pattern has the potential to become one of the most volatile stretches of the season so far. Stay weather aware, keep emergency alerts enabled, and prepare now before the next round of storms rapidly develops. But what's becoming increasingly alarming is how fast the atmosphere is reloading after each storm system moves through. Normally, severe weather patterns weaken after a major outbreak, but this setup appears ready to regenerate over and over again. Meteorologists are now watching the possibility of multiple back-to-back severe weather episodes extending through the second half of May, with the central United States remaining locked inside a highly unstable environment. One of the biggest concerns moving forward is the collision between intense early-season heat and repeated surges of cooler air diving out of Canada. That clash is expected to create powerful atmospheric dynamics capable of producing rotating supercells, long-lived thunderstorm complexes, and potentially significant severe weather events. Even areas that avoid storms one day could quickly become targets the next as frontal boundaries shift across the plains, Midwest, and Ohio Valley. The flooding threat is also beginning to grow more serious. With repeated rounds of thunderstorms expected across some of the same regions, the ground may become saturated quickly, especially across Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, and portions of the Mississippi Valley. Flash flooding could develop with little warning during nighttime storms, making travel especially dangerous after dark. Urban flooding may become a major issue in larger metro areas if storms repeatedly track over the same locations. At the same time, the atmosphere across the Gulf Coast is becoming increasingly moisture-rich, meaning any storm that develops could produce torrential rainfall rates and extremely frequent lightning. Some storms may rapidly intensify in only a matter of minutes, giving residents very little time to react once warnings are issued. Forecasters are emphasizing that people should not focus only on tornadoes, because straight-line winds from these storm complexes may actually become the most widespread and damaging threat in the coming days. Meanwhile, across the western United States, a completely different weather story is unfolding. Expanding heat and strengthening drought conditions are expected to intensify heading into June. Parts of the Pacific Northwest and northern Rockies could experience worsening drought stress as storm systems continue tracking farther east, leaving states like Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and western Montana much drier than normal. Fire danger could also begin increasing in some of these regions if windy conditions continue alongside the growing heat. Long-range models continue signaling that the overall pattern may remain extremely active well into early summer. That means the severe weather season could be far from peaking. In fact, some forecasters believe the most dangerous stretch may still be ahead if the atmosphere continues building instability at this pace. The combination of record warmth, deep Gulf moisture, and repeated storm triggers could create an environment favorable for major severe weather outbreaks later this month. So, as we move deeper into May, millions of Americans need to stay weather-aware every single day. Conditions can change rapidly, especially during overnight hours when storms become harder to see and warnings are easier to miss. Make sure your phones are fully charged, emergency alerts are turned on, and you have multiple reliable ways to receive warnings before dangerous weather strikes. The next few weeks could bring some of the most intense weather we've seen so far this year.